If your IBS gets worse when you're stressed, if it calms down on vacation, if you feel it spike before a meeting, before a flight, before a meal at a restaurant you've never been to before, this episode is for you. What you're describing is not weakness. It is not anxiety disorder. It is not imaginary. It is a biological feedback loop between your gut and your brain. It has a name. It has a mechanism. And it has a treatment that works in 70 to 80% of people who try it, with benefits that hold for over a year after the therapy ends. For a chronic condition like IBS, that durability is exceptional. Stay with me. At the end, I will give you the exact pass or fail rule for this protocol, the rule that stops people quitting too early. If you haven't stabilized your symptoms yet, episode 4 or 5 first. The investigation is easier when you're not in constant pain. We covered FODMAP in episode 7. If food triggers are your primary driver, that episode is where you start. But what if FODMAP didn't fix it? What if you followed all 3 phases correctly and still have significant symptoms? That is not a failure. It means food triggers are not your primary driver. The investigation continues. And the next most likely suspect is the gut-brain loop. A quick self-assessment. 5 questions. Answer honestly. 1. Do your symptoms get noticeably worse during stressful periods? A difficult week at work? A deadline? A family conflict? 2. Do your symptoms improve when you're relaxed? On vacation? On a quiet weekend? When the pressure is off? 3. Do you feel anxiety before meals, before travel, before situations where a bathroom might not be accessible? 4. Did your IBS start during or shortly after a prolonged stressful period in your life? 5. Have you done a proper FODMAP trial and found no clear food triggers? If you answered yes to 2 or more of those, this episode is built for you. You have been right about this all along. This is not a suggestion that your symptoms are psychological. The mechanism is as biological as taking an antispasmodic. These therapies work through a direct physiological pathway. They change how nerve signals are processed between your gut and your brain. That is as physical as a drug acting on a receptor. The fact that the intervention involves your mind does not make the mechanism less real. If a doctor has ever implied your IBS is just stress or all in your head, that framing is wrong. What they may have been gesturing at, clumsily, is that the gut-brain axis is involved. And they're probably right about that. But the language matters because it's in your head. Shuts down investigation. Your gut-brain loop is dysregulated. Opens it. So, what is the gut-brain loop? Your gut has its own nervous system, around 500 million neurons, embedded in the walls of your intestines. It is sometimes called the second brain. It runs digestion largely on its own, but it is in constant two-way communication with your brain, via the vagus nerve, via hormones, via immune signals. Here's the key fact for IBS. Around 95% of your body's serotonin lives in your gut, not in your brain, in your gut. Serotonin regulates the contractions that drive transit. It modulates pain signals. When the gut-brain system is dysregulated, normal gut sensations get amplified into pain. Gas that a healthy gut barely notices becomes cramping. A full bowel that should feel like mild pressure becomes urgency or stalled painful blockage. This is called visceral hypersensitivity, and it is one of the defining features of IBS. Brain imaging studies confirm it. Give 2 people the same controlled gut stimulus, the IBS brain reports more pain. Not because the gut is damaged, because the signal is being amplified. This is not imagined pain. It is measurably different pain processing. Now here is the pivot. If the problem is signal processing, the most effective treatment is the one that targets signal processing directly, not the gut, the loop. Here is the part most people never hear. For the right pattern, gut-directed hypnotherapy is one of the most durable treatments in IBS. Not because it relaxes you, not because it distracts you, because it directly retrains the gut-brain feedback loop at the level of signal interpretation. Let me be precise about what gut-directed hypnotherapy actually is, because it is not what most people picture. It is not stage hypnosis. It is not general relaxation hypnotherapy. It is a specific clinical protocol. It uses focused attention and gut-specific guided imagery to retrain the feedback loop. Warmth spreading through the abdomen, the gut moving smoothly, pain signals quieting. That specificity is what separates it from general hypnotherapy, and it is why it works. Now, the evidence. A structured 12-session program delivered over 3 months. 70 to 80% of participants report significant improvement in pain, bloating, and bowel habits. A large 2015 review confirmed this across multiple studies and multiple populations. The improvement is consistent. It is not explained by placebo. Improvement rates are substantially higher than placebo arms in the same trials. And here is the part that should make you sit up. The benefits last. Not just while you are doing the program. Over a year after the therapy ends, in study after study, the gains hold. That is not what medication looks like. Most medications maintain their effect only while you are taking them. Stop the drug stops working. Hypnotherapy produces changes that persist. That durability is exceptional for a chronic condition. This should not be a last resort. It should be one of the first things you try. Here is where I made my mistake. I had used clinical hypnotherapy years before I ever connected it to my IBS investigation. Not for IBS, for sleep. It worked, so I had personal evidence. A structured hypnotherapy protocol could produce real, lasting change in my own body. And then I filed it under sleep, moved on. I never asked whether the same kind of intervention existed for IBS. It does. There is strong evidence for it. I just hadn't looked. If I had connected those dots earlier, I would have saved myself months. If you've been writing this off as woo, so was I. Don't make the same mistake. If you're running this investigation with me, subscribe. Each case file builds on the last. So, how do you actually do it? 2 options. Option 1. A therapist trained specifically in gut-directed hypnotherapy. This is the gold standard. The strongest evidence base is in therapist-led protocols. Search for gut-directed hypnotherapy or IBS hypnotherapy in your area. Ask specifically whether they use a gut-directed approach, not general hypnotherapy. Option 2. An app-based program. There are app-based programs designed specifically for this. The Nerva app is the most established. App-based delivery has shown meaningful effectiveness on its own. Not quite at the level of therapist-led sessions, but significantly better than doing nothing and immediately accessible. Now, the pass or fail rule I promised you. Do not judge this at week 2. That is the mistake. This therapy builds, session by session, week by week. Some people notice a shift in the anticipatory anxiety first. They feel less on alert before meals or travel, and the gut symptoms follow. That is normal. That is the therapy working at the level of the loop before the downstream symptoms catch up. If you stopped a previous trial early because nothing seemed to be happening, you did not run the trial. 6 to 12 weeks, consistently. That is what the evidence requires. That is not overkill. That is the minimum needed to get a reliable answer. What improvement looks like is not perfection. It is fewer flares, less urgency, less dread before meals and travel, pain that is still there sometimes, but smaller and over time, a gut that is no longer the first thing you think about every morning. If you get partial improvement, that is useful data. The gut-brain loop is one driver, but probably not the only one. Who does this work best for? It works across all IBS subtypes, stress-correlated symptoms, holiday improvement, anticipatory anxiety, IBS that started during a high-pressure period, no clear food triggers. If that describes you, this is a high-priority next step. Some of you have IBS-M, Mixed type, alternating between diarrhea and constipation. For you, gut-brain therapies are often the primary unlock, not because they target one direction, but because reducing overall gut reactivity helps both ends. Episode 6 covers IBSM in full. And if you are skeptical, good. The mechanism does not require belief. It requires repetition. The trials include skeptical participants. The results hold. Here is your action step. Treat your case like a case. Run the self-assessment again. Be honest. If 2 or more of those questions apply, start this week. Not next month. This week. Find a gut-directed hypnotherapy provider in your area. Or download the Nerva app and begin the program. Commit to the full trial, 6 to 12 weeks. Track your symptoms as you go. Use a simple 0 to 10 scale for pain, bloating, and urgency. Write it all down. Don't trust your memory. You need data to know whether it is working. And don't wait until you have fixed everything else first. Gut-brain therapies produce better outcomes when started alongside dietary changes, not after them. If you are currently doing FODMAP, run them in parallel for the full gut-brain framework, including how to combine hypnotherapy with the rest of your investigation. Chapter 8 of the IBS Roadmap. Link in the description. If you followed the protocol correctly, 6 to 12 weeks, full commitment, and still have significant symptoms, that doesn't mean the gut-brain loop isn't your driver. It might just mean hypnotherapy isn't the right tool for your version of it. There is another tool, same gut-brain target, different mechanism, and its benefits persist for 6 to 12 months after you stop. It is called CBT for IBS, and it is not what most people think it is. That is part 2 of this mini-series. Episode 9. Keep going. A program can be changed. But first, you have to know which program is running. Don't give up. Keep investigating.